Go.
Alrighty, it's 6 p.m. I call this meeting of the Franklin Public Library Board of Trustees meeting to order. I will call roll. I am present. Judy Williams.
Present.
Judy Miller.
Here.
Ravian Berrios.
Here.
Terry Barris.
Here.
Anne Maria Kobjia. Drovich.
Here.
Mike Karlovich is excused absent, and Kristen Wilhelm.
Here.
Alrighty, there are no public attendees, so we will move on to agenda item 3, approval of the minutes from our last meeting on the 27th of September.
A couple of comments on the discussion on the budget item.
I tried to get that as close as I could.
Yeah, I just didn't know if it needed to be quite that.
I know. So, full disclosure, I'm a little worried about not including stuff because we're recording it, that somebody's gonna come back and say it.
That's not how the council does it,
Okay. So I'll keep that in mind. I thought maybe it'd be more expensive.
but I don't know if there's anything that.
I know in the past when I was secretary, it was that fine line between if Mike comes and looks at our minutes to see what we did, you'd kind of like him to know, now we have the recording, but, whatever.
I find less is more if everybody else is fine with that.
I would look at the council minutes just to get an idea, and then maybe other library boards.
Motions, is
There's
there?
the motions, yeah. I guess one thing that might not, one thing that might not sit well, especially there, as the city lack of transparency, because they will say that they have public needs, finance, and everybody's able to come, so. I guess I would just take that part out, it's right after the $10,000. I guess I would just take that part out, it's right after the $10,000. Comment in business meeting.
So through lack of transparency, we just discuss cities, failure to gather information and creating budget, or?
Yeah, well, I just did it on the next, conversation on the budget. I don't know.
Which line are you suggesting we strike?
The discuss city's lack of transparency, because there are several public meetings on the budget, it's just that by the time it is at that point, it's the transparency part on that.
Yeah, I thought that discussion was about the fact that we had a lack of transparency as to how they got the levy amount for us. That we didn't know how they were getting to that.
That could be a lack of communication.
I could change it to discuss city's lack of communication.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the motion I have to put in here?
How about discuss the need for, library information gathering during the creation of the budget?
Can you repeat that?
Discuss the need for, gathering information on the library budget. Gathering information in creating the library budget.
So Kristen has, correct?
Well, it's not a motion, it's amendment to the minutes.
Okay. You're moving that we approve the minutes with that
Based
amendment,
based on the correction.
right? And are there other things in the minutes that anyone?
With the proposed
Okay.
change.
So Anne Marie. Do I have a second? Okay, Ravian seconds. Any other discussion about the minutes? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
I abstain.
Okay. We have one abstention, Judy Miller. All right. Moving on then to the Finance Committee. Take it away, Alan.
All right. This report for September 30th has 74.79% of the budget that we should have covered. At this point, Fund 15, the expense point, Fund 15, the expenses are 72.72%. And the only area that's a little high is the area broken down as facility charges, which are account numbers 5551 through 55, which are account numbers 5551 through 5560. They're at 79.87%. And the electric, the natural gas, natural gas and maintenance other will probably all be over budget. I think is over already.
Yeah, building maintenance, other.
Yeah. So, other than that, we look good in Fund 15. Any questions on Fund 15?
I do, and I apologize because I think this was addressed last month. We had $200 budgeted and we're already over 1,000. What is it? It's 5257.
Yeah, I think we did.
Oh, that's 16, sorry. Yeah, we did talk about that.
We
It's-
did, I'm
It's the
sorry.
cloud, it's the cloud.
Okay, perfect. Yep,
But then continued it because of continuing pandemic concerns.
right. Perfect. Thanks for the reminder.
How are we looking on ebooks, Jennifer?
We're done.
Done for the year?
Yeah, we make a lump sum payment for ebooks at the beginning of the year.
Okay.
Yeah, so that amount will not change.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, they're looking at Fund 16. Their revenues are at 85.47% of budget. Expenditures at 66.77% of budget. The only ones that look a little high to me was 27.56% of budget. And 5313 printing, which is 109.4% of budget. And if I recall correctly, I think even in the past years, we always seem to run over on those. So,
Like, and I know just costs of supplies in general are going up, so,
Office supplies
How can
actually
we-
is programming supplies.
right. Oh, that's programming supplies also?
So a lot of this stuff was reimbursed by the foundation. So all of the great decisions I pay out of programming supplies and then we get a donation. So all of the great decisions I pay out of programming supplies and then we get a reimbursement.
and when we get the reimbursement, we don't put it against
Yeah,
programming
we
supplies.
don't.
We show it as revenue.
Yeah, so it would, yeah. So it
How
goes
does
up into
that, where does
revenue.
that fall in? What,
But when you budget it, you budget a net number?
fall in? What,
But when you budget it, you budget a net number? Because that's not how they're posting it. But again, you know, we're 127% of office supplies, which really, you know that we're getting that money back, but I'm thinking, when we're doing the budgeting, that money back, but I'm thinking, when we're doing the budget, are we putting in the net number? As opposed to putting it into the
Well,
budget
like, for
like they're
example,
gonna.
we
force
got
us.
money, like, I kind of assume we're not gonna get Waterstone grant money,
right,
and then we do.
But
So they,
up above in the revenue section, and we're not showing the gross
right.
expenses. But it looks like we're not budgeting well.
Right, it
Okay.
looks like we're way overspending
Yeah,
in certain
and it-
areas.
that's
it
not
looks
the
that
case.
way, but I don't count on the $3,000 from Waterstone, so I don't budget it.
No, but I think what Ellen is offsetting the expenses when you're posting it, right? So that you post
Well-
the money specifically to that account.
To that account.
I don't think you
I
have
don't think I can do that.
the option to do that.
Oh.
Which means that then what we have to do is we have to budget the gross amount that we're gonna put into office supplies. And if you don't show that,
Basically, if I didn't get the $3,000 from Waterstone Bank, we wouldn't
You wouldn't
spend that
spend it.
money.
But because you get it, you don't spend it before you get it.
No,
But, so you get it, it goes in one place, and you spend it, and it
out
looks
of
like it's
another
coming out
place,
of
and it
another
looks like
place.
we're over. Now, when we get our new our city, when we get a new city finance director, we could talk to him about ways to fix this, but this is common at other libraries too, because when library directors get together, we bemoan all of this stuff.
Okay,
But would the better option be to budget higher and then just not spend?
okay.
Well, would the better option be to budget higher and then just not spend it if we don't get the grant? So that it looks like we underspent in the category versus way overspending.
But if you have so
But then I
many
have to take it from
dollars,
somewhere
why would
else.
you budget those dollars there when they could go somewhere else?
If I budget 3,000 more in program supplies, that means I have to budget $3,000 less. Budget 3,000 more in program supplies, that means I have to budget $3,000 less in
Right.
some other
Outlays,
category.
yeah.
So maybe there's a way we could fix this, you know.
There's no way to annotate this, like in a financial statement footnote. There's no provision for anything like that here.
No.
Not that I am aware
No,
of.
this,
Provision for anything like that here.
no.
Not that I am aware
No,
of.
this comes off of computer printout, there's no notes.
Yeah. I just print, this is city software.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Well, maybe
But we know that even though it looks like we've way overspent, that money is
I
sitting in
mean, I
another
have-
account.
I have probably,
We've way overspent, that money is
I
sitting in
mean, I
another
have-
account.
I have probably gotten $5,000 more than,
Okay,
in donations and grants.
okay.
maybe we need some form explanations for these recurring things that we can, just
So-
put into them, put into our, that we can, just
So-
put into them, put into our minutes. Well, we could
Well-
say, this is what happened, and then we'll just have the usual language in the minutes explaining it.
I have mentioned this to Paul in the past, that, it drives me nuts that it looks like we're over budget when we're really not. And he said, well, they don't really care.
But the board cares,
The board
apparently.
cares, yeah.
Yeah, and then other people do look at the year-end reports, I mean, Basil Ryan or whoever it might be.
Right.
Yeah, just something to simplify the documentation, so that we have these explanations, if there's a way to do that.
Right.
Okay, the other one I had was 5422 subscriptions,
Yeah.
because I thought subscriptions were like one-time payments, or do we have recurring ones? Like,
We
what's the
have
Chicago
Zoom,
Tribune?
but like our Zoom subscription, our Cricut subscriptions, our.
Right.
Well, it, just that we're over and we're still posting to that account. So, I was just curious about that.
What was this, you know?
Let me look.
Okay.
MailChimp,
Oh, okay. So it's not like an annual thing apparently. I mean, some are,
MailChimp
yeah.
is, yeah, MailChimp.
But they come at different times. Okay. Okay.
I will come to the next meeting, letting you know exactly what I'm spending out of subscriptions.
Okay.
My old person brain isn't remembering that.
Well, that's a good, the MailChimp, I mean, that's, well, that's a good, the MailChimp, I mean, that's, so subscriptions out of 15, do you have the subscriptions out of 15?
Those would be the ones that are in the library.
Right, okay, and these are more of the, like, Zoom and MailChimp and, okay.
Okay,
But again,
Cricut, the Cricut.
we're the, like, Zoom and MailChimp and, okay.
okay.
But again,
Cricut, the Cricut.
we're, okay.
The only other point I was gonna make is that we were talking about fund balance and how correct it is. The fund balance in 15 dropped 103,953.58. It dropped 103,953.58 in September, and the fund balance in 16 went up $60.91. So last time we were talking about fund balance and what
Right.
we thought,
Right,
where we thought,
right.
where we'd be.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at some calculations from these other reports that we're gonna begin looking at. And, I'm concerned about us having the right amount of fund balance. I asked Jennifer, what it is, and she said, what it is, and she said we should be between 20 and 30% of the money that we need for a year in fund balance. But at a minimum, it cannot go below $100,000. And I think at the pace that we're going at, if they don't give us more than 20%, in a year or two.
In 15 or,
Just as in total for the library,
okay.
15 and 16 combined. But who knows what they'll do next year, okay? So the next thing was,
I think I'm gonna pause you and get, motions to approve those vouchers. Oh, well, wait.
We didn't do the invoices.
We didn't even do the vouchers and invoices. Do you wanna finish
did I
your
flip right past that?
You
Yes, you
did.
did.
Do you wanna just finish your report and go back to those? Or just continue?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
finish the report and then.
Yep,
Well,
sorry.
how about if we just do the invoices now? No, is there a problem?
No,
Okay.
either way.
Looking at the invoices for Fund 15, I didn't see anything that jumped out at me other than the federal. And there's two things. 3,901.72 to ABI Systems and Terminal Andre $860 for 2 network drops. So he had some electrical work that was done tied into that too. Other things that we spend almost every month. So I'd be looking for a motion to approve out of Fund 15, $19,469.02.
I so moved.
About the vouchers and invoices from Fund 15, all in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, Fund 16,
Fund 16, again, wasn't anything that jumped out. The Waterstone Bank, anything that jumped out. The Waterstone Bank Visa card had pretty high supply expenses and $770 for a conference. I asked Jennifer about the conference. She said we have 2 or 3 librarians actually presenting.
3 like,
3. Okay.
nice,
So it sounds like we 3 librarians actually presenting.
3 like,
3. Okay.
nice.
So it sounds like we should show up and.
yeah.
So the total amount in Fund 16 is $5,909.16, and I would be looking for a motion to approve those.
I so moved.
And I would be looking for a motion to approve those.
I so moved.
And I'll second.
Okay, any other questions, discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed or abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Now continue, Alan, thank you.
The next report that we have breaks out the revenues in Fund 16, and only 4781 and 4799 tied out exactly. All the other ones. 4766, we have $460 on the financials. It's $500. The difference is $40, and there happens to be a deposit on the 27th for $40, which,
Doesn't match up with,
no, it doesn't match. Hit this month, but I don't remember having everything off. I thought they pretty much tied out except for the first one, in which we know there's a sales tax issue. And this one is much closer than last month's, 4419. So, what the city is posting and when, there's no way that I could tie these out. So, we're close,
yeah.
but just no cigar.
We paid out a refund or a reimbursement to, what was that for?
A meeting
Meeting
got
room.
canceled.
For the, that's a big,
Oh, so we got $500 in, but then when we pay it out, we post that to where? Not 4766.
They did.
They did do it to 4766? Okay. Well, that answers that. Credit card summary. 3,568. And as I said, the program supplies were high, and we had the conference. Computer equipment, but we bought computer equipment now these days.
So those were two TV/monitors that we're putting in the meeting room, in the study rooms.
Oh,
And the
okay.
foundation is financing that, so we'll get that money back.
Super.
Posted in revenue, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Did anybody have any other questions on the
So
credit
we
card?
getting
activity?
points for our credit card?
Mhm. Yeah, and we use those for our reading programs to get gift cards,
Yeah, it's a,
our reading programs to get gift cards.
yeah, it's a great way to use that, yeah.
Okay. We have a new budget report. When I went through this, the only change that I saw was in, Fund 15, account 4458, library reciprocal borrowing. They added $13,000 additional funds that we'd be getting in. I asked Jennifer, struck me as strange that the city, that's right, we won't get the money till 2023?
February 2023.
Yeah, so I thought it a little strange that it's in the 2022 budget, but she said, no, that's the way they've always done it. It's like an accrual, and I think we're a semi-accrual.
22 for,
That will be applied to this year.
that will be applied to this year.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So what we have in the budget for reciprocal borrowing, in the budget in the year we're in, we'll get that money in February.
Right.
Get clarified, is there such a thing as a hybrid?
A hybrid cash accrual accounting system, which is what I've been told that we do. When Paul was here, I asked him if we were cash or accrual, and he said,
Yes.
we're hybrid.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've never dealt with one, but you usually go one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
I run into other differences with things like municipalities, but that's not this one, but, okay.
Well, for example, why in the world would the electric bills not be very consistent? You know, you see something every month, and we don't always have an electric bill. If you don't have one, you should be accruing it, if you're gonna be on the accrual system.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. Okay, so that was the only change to the budget that we looked at last meeting. The next one is on the property,
The capital.
yeah, capital.
And I think that's going to be an item under business.
Right,
Yeah.
so I will not move on, I think my report is over.
Can I,
So I will not move on, I think my report is over.
can I just make a suggestion that on page 8 of 22, that there be some sort of title on that report, so we know what that is?
Oh, sure, yeah.
And the same would be true for the report we're going to discuss later on page 13. For the report we're going to discuss later on page 13.
Great suggestion. Page 8 and page 13. Yeah. Thank you, Alan. Business item 5A, discussion and possible action regarding the library capital improvement plan and the impact on our library budget. Alan already began talking about it. It's been a crazy month. Julie has the best. She's had most of the discussions, so I'll let her bring us all up to date on this.
Well, the library was, I went to 3 of the 4 finance committee meetings. The one we didn't go to because they were discussing all the other departments. And And the reply from the city was that we have a big fund balance and we should be tapping into that, and there was no action. So that's kind of the brief summary. I sat through all the meetings. There is a big push from the city for departments to use their fund balance, like the police department evidently being asked to spend down their fund balance as well. So I guess the next steps Peggy wants us to take is to figure out how we're gonna spend the fund balance, how we're gonna bring it down, and have a plan for how we're going to bring it down.
So.
No, I wanna make a comment here. We don't have to spend down the fund balance just because the city said that they want us to. We could decide not to do certain projects that we don't think are necessary.
Yeah,
So I just wanna make
yeah.
So I just wanna make that clear,
That's
right?
true.
They have no right to tell us to spend down the fund balance. And the other thing, I think you got clarification, was that when they're talking about our fund balances in net fund 15, they're including 16 in the fund balance. They're including 16 in the fund balance. So that net fund balance for 15, that's the 644, that actually is in Fund 15 balance. That's Fund 15 and 16. So that's not accurately reported on here.
On
This budget sheet that they're giving us. On this budget sheet that they're giving us. Is that right? That's why there's just an email you sent to me, Jennifer, about what happened at the one meeting, that I had raised that we didn't have any idea as to how they were getting the number they were getting. And what they said is they're combining for the ending fund balance, for the ending fund balance for Fund 15, Fund 16 into that fund balance. So we don't really have 644 and 149, 845. We have 644. And it's misleading to have them including that in Fund 15.
And which one's the one we have to keep the money? There's a certain amount that it has to be used by that ordinance.
Well, yeah, I think it's Fund 15, that's the main fund. I mean, I'm assuming if we have a fund balance, it's Fund 16, that is money that we have raised through donations, etc., then that's not a fund balance that the city can tell us we have to use.
So I think we're also trying to get, and you'll have to correct me, Jennifer, we want to get Fund 16, which we just asked the city to manage for us, correct?
Well, they don't really manage it.
Not manage it, but they're
yeah,
holding the money.
They're holding the money. It's not really any different than it used to be. It's just,
With this though, is that why they're counting that?
Right, do they not know about it before, and now they know
no,
about it?
they knew about it.
Okay.
Yeah. they
But is
knew
that
about
why
it.
is that why that money is being included, because now it's on their books?
No, I don't.
Okay, so,
But the budget isn't accurate. I mean, the budget, it says it's a Fund 15 ending fund balance. That's not accurate.
and there was some frustration because there was no opportunity. We could make public comments, but we couldn't discuss the budget because the finance committee doesn't have our budget.
That's ridiculous.
But
Exactly.
But the finance committee has the ending fund balance. It can't disclose.
They didn't have this in their binder. This
No.
was not included, this,
Fund balance. It can't disclose.
they didn't have this in their binder. This
No.
was not included, the city did not include our budget in the binder that was given to the finance committee. So it was difficult to address, specifics in our budget because there was nothing for them to see and look at.
You didn't have a copy of it to bring her?
Well, during the public comment section, Jennifer talked to Peggy about it, our budget being missing.
Well, can you request to get on the finance agenda specifically for that?
The meetings are over, we asked. The meetings are over, we asked, and we're told it wasn't necessary. Is that correct, Jennifer?
I can print out Peggy's email, but it was basically, she wanted to know what we wanted to discuss.
Mm-hmm.
The other question would be, we'd need to make sure our numbers were accurate when we went for the finance committee. question would be, we need to make sure our numbers were accurate when we went for the finance committee, because if we said any inaccurate information would be corrected, and that wouldn't look good.
But they don't look good because they don't have our budget.
Right.
So the way they're getting that 689 is their ticket in column F. Getting that 689 is their ticket in column F 75, that 548, 628, which is the 2021 original budget. And then they add that with the 147.
Think about having 20% of our expenditures, they're adding 15 and 16 together.
Together.
Well, they can't do that.
How do you do that, Alan? How do you combine and put on a budget that a fund has a balance that it doesn't have? Hitting balance, Fund 16 ending balance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where they have the 884 as being the ending fund balance, which I still don't get. But what they told Jennifer was the reason, remember I pointed out there was that jump last time, and how were they getting that? They said it's because they're combining Fund 15 and Fund 16. And the Fund 15.
I don't think they're double counting, but they are they're adding both fund balances together and saying, here's what the library has in total that they can spend.
No, so they have a separate Fund 15, right? And it says Fund 15 balance, and then they have a separate Fund 16, and that's got the Fund 16 balance.
Right.
When
But
we
the
asked
fund-
them why Fund 15, when
but
we
the
asked
fund-
them why Fund 15 was so high, they said it's because they're including in the Fund 15 balance, the Fund 16 balance, even though they're identified separately on the spreadsheet.
Okay,
So the figures here,
I hear what you're saying, and on this report that we got this time, it's different from what we got last month. Last month, it's different from what we got last month. Last month, they took them each separate, and then they went down a few lines and they said beginning fund balance, all funds, and ending fund balance, all funds. So they did combine
So they
the show.
fixed it this time, is that what you're saying?
I don't know if they fixed it or broke it.
But they broke,
I don't know if they fixed it or broke it.
but they broke it down.
But they're doing something, they're presenting something different than what we got last month.
Okay,
But when I look at what we got last month, because we've got both funds together, we, at the end of 2020, we had 689,389 both funds. So then, for 2021, we're showing that we're going to lose, what was it, $67,000 in fund balance? So that 689 comes down to 622, comes down to 622. And then they're showing that we're going to lose 226,000, so that's 622 minus 226. We're at 396,000 in total fund balance, both of them.
but that's not what the report shows.
Well, not this report,
Yeah,
but it does show that net revenue appropriations, all funds, we're gonna lose 226. And it was gonna be 251, and then they added $13,000 in additional revenues for the reciprocal borrowing. So now we're losing 226. But if we say that the 622 minus the 226 takes us down to 396, we go at the next report, which has all the capital expenditures, we're supposed to spend another $224,000 out of our fund balance in 2022. If we're down to 396 and we spend 223, we'll be down to 173,000. And then
Is that 15 you're talking, or total?
total.
And what's the policy say that we have to keep in there at all times?
Can't go below 100,000, and we go below 100,000, and we should be between 20 and 30%. So at the end of next year, with the capital spending, we'll be below 20% and just above the 100,000.
Are they aware of that 100,000 policy?
100,000.
Are they aware of that 100,000 policy? I'll bet Peggy doesn't know. She
I know
doesn't.
Paul knows, cause Paul's the one
Well,
who
yeah,
said,
but Paul and Peggy are, that's two different.
This is,
I believe she,
where does this
No.
come from? I mean, this, I assume it's written somewhere, I would assume it'd
Yeah.
be somewhere prominent.
I mean, I was an ordinance or,
Where, I would assume it'd be
Yeah.
somewhere prominent.
I mean, I was an ordinance or something.
yeah, it was a comment, were you on, no, because that would have been back in 2011.
Yeah, that was quite a while.
That was a while ago.
What record can we point to of this?
I have it.
Okay,
Mhm. I have it.
okay.
Mhm.
And can you just clarify for me, because maybe I'm missing it, Alan, so the way they're getting to 884 for the beginning fund balance for,
Where are you?
oh, I'm at 75 and 76, line 75 and 76. The way they're getting to 886, line 75 and 76. The way they're getting to 884,066 is the beginning fund balance, is they're adding our fund balance of 548 with our net revenues of 335.
No, I think that's
I,
just Fund 15, but the problem is when you're looking at 15, but the problem is when you're looking on column G, which is supposed to be everything through 12/31,
It's
we're,
not.
we're not through 12/31.
Yeah, it's not.
And we're showing that the beginning fund balance is appropriation for Fund 15 is an additional $335,438, that's on line 74. And they're saying the beginning fund balance is 548,628, and they add that to get to 884, but that 335 isn't gonna exist. If we continue to lose, that 335 is gonna be nothing.
Well, are we scheduled to have actually a loss this year?
Well,
And go into the fund balance?
mhm.
yeah, we're looking at like $60-some thousand.
So our real true number would be the 548 minus 60,000.
Which is a 489.14.
And then we're supposed to really subtract from that the 226,994,
Yeah.
and that's where you're saying we're gonna be below.
Then we're gonna be $236,000 and $260,000.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2022, when we look at that capital line, and we're gonna spend 223,000, we'll wipe out Fund 15. We'll be below 100,000. If Fund 15 must be 100,000. Now that, I don't know that.
Can we come up with a plan of action to address some of this specifically and present something to Peggy, Paul? I know the council hasn't, there are public hearings still.
I think that your
What?
best information and then ask that a particular motion be made for your request. And then I can write it down, I can make the motion, see where it goes.
Well, could we discuss this with these, the financial people in advance though?
Yeah,
As far as what-
That's what I'm, yeah. Yeah,
And so that we make sure we're not missing something.
Right.
Or misinterpreting something.
right.
I'd be happy to meet with them.
Well,
Well-
it makes sense that the finance committee would.
That's what I was wondering if,
Is there, when's next finance?
I was wondering if,
Is there, when's next finance?
We can call one.
But wouldn't you think?
should our
that-
finance committee meet, put together something for you to take to a meeting with Peggy or Paul, or
I don't think you're gonna,
Peggy or Paul, or,
I don't think you're gonna probably get too far there. I think you're gonna have to talk directly to maybe the chair,
of the finance committee?
Who's that?
Dennis Eachy. Maybe he would meet with you, or maybe he would give him the spreadsheet email. know how we can get a better recommendation from the finance committee.
Yeah. I just think somebody isn't seeing what's really happening here. Because,
And
I don't think-
that, kind of a problem.
Right.
It's like, well.
but is it? Because it's a library budget. When they give us $1,347,000, they're not giving that to Fund 15 and something else to Fund 16. They're saying, this is what the library gets.
They said,
The policy is Fund 15 exclusive.
yes.
Okay.
Fund 16 isn't given to us by the city. Fund 16 is based upon library fines and other things that we get.
Donations and,
Donations.
yeah.
That's not money that we
That's-
got from the city.
Right.
So therefore, they have no say on that.
That's our money. They didn't even have it in their coffers until we moved it over from Waterstone, right? Right, Jennifer?
No.
But what say does the city have in telling us how to spend that money?
I don't think they have any say.
Well, what they say is, well, we don't have any say, but we're not gonna give you enough, and that
So you
forces
do
you, but we're not gonna give you enough, and that
So you do
forces you to do it. So
Right,
they have that kind of say.
That's, yeah.
Remind me why we gave them Fund 16?
We didn't really give it to them. Nothing's changed other than the fact they write the checks now. And the fact they write the checks now.
It was, kind of a nightmare for, I think, bookkeeping, or not bookkeeping,
it's
it was just a
It was
hassle.
a lot of extra.
A lot of extra,
Yeah.
yeah.
And they could take those funds and invest them.
And they could invest them and
Right.
more than what,
They could take those funds and invest them.
and they could invest them and
Right.
make more than what we could make.
Right.
Our investments aren't doing so well though this year, are they?
I'm not sure,
They
they
wouldn't
weren't
be
doing
doing
well
it.
at Waterstone either,
The
before we
interest
moved
is
them
doing
over.
fine.
Yeah.
Fine, I think they're buying into bonds, and as the
Yeah.
interest rates go up, we're losing basis bonds, and as the
Yeah.
interest rates go up, we're losing basis.
So Jennifer, what kind of figure would help? I mean, what kind of figure do you think they might agree with, if you had to ask for?
Well, I just, kinda wanted that extra 10,000 restored. Kinda wanted that extra 10,000 restored.
But that doesn't really get us that far in terms of
No.
using the fund balance. I mean, the stuff that's, the 223 on the other page, that's not included in the budget right now? Or is it included?
Yeah, it's all included.
The 223 is included?
Yeah,
So we don't actually take the the 489 minus the 226, that's the number, it's not 489 minus 226 minus 223?
no, okay, so if you look at my chart on page 13, which I'm sorry, I don't have it hanging on it.
Okay, so
I'm
Yes, I was
assuming
gonna
right
ask you-
now-
yeah.
Okay, I'm assuming right now, our fund balance is 689,389. I guess it's the number that's the number they reference when they were
Mhm.
talking to the finance committee. That's the number that Peggy referenced when she talked to me individually.
Okay.
And that's the number that includes both funds?
Yeah,
yes.
yes, both funds. There's gonna be some savings issue.
Getting this wrong, Alan, there's no way that in 2021 end, our balance is gonna be 689, including both funds.
No, because we have 3 months' worth of expenses that we're still gonna spend.
Yeah, so your number on here where it says 2021, 689, 389, that's not right.
Well, that's where this is really part of my job, I really despise.
And how much of that,
884 is what they're saying we have right now. So if we stop spending any money at all,
Mhm.
right now, we have $884,000.66 in Fund 15. That's what that, $1,000.66 in Fund 15. That's what they're saying. That's not the truth though, because we are still paying out bills and we'll continue to pay out bills till the end of the year. And that's where you were, Alan, that's where you were averaging out to see
Mhm.
what we spend. What did you figure out we spent every month? What did you figure out we spent every month? About 100.
So, no, I just picked up September and saw that the fund balance dropped $103,000.
Oh, okay.
And so I just extrapolated
Yeah.
that, said October,
So-
November, December, 309,000.
Yeah, so that 884,066. Yeah, so that 884,066 is right now.
Mhm.
So every month that we spend out of that, it'll drop. Right now, the estimate is that our fund balance will end up at 548,628.
No, that's not right.
That's just an estimate. So 880.
No, that's not right.
That's just an estimate. So 884 to 548 is what they're thinking we'll spend for the rest of the year.
I thought the real number was 489, because the $60,000 deficit we're anticipating.
Well, that's included up there in F74. That's included up there in F74. They're taking that 67,000 into account.
So then what's I? 'Cause I think Alan and I were both assuming that I was the number we were actually going to have.
Column I?
Yeah,
No,
Well,
column I.
that's-
Column I?
yeah.
No,
Well,
column I
that's
is.
2019, I was reading it
Yeah.
wrong, got it, okay. There's too many columns and it's not edited.
So,
The 2020 activity where it shows what the fund balance is on 2020, the 548,627 ending fund balance for Fund 15, $1,000 increase in fund balance, but we haven't hit the end of the year yet.
Got it, okay.
So we should just consider that we're gonna be at 548, and they do run that across as a beginning fund balance all the way into the 2022 budget, which is column D.
89. So right now, if we have $335,438 to spend before we hit 548,628. Does that make sense? 884,066 minus 548,628 is 335.
There'll be a $67,000 deficit, and the second is, the report tonight has us at 66% of the budget for 9 months. We should be at 75% of the budget for 9 months. So why are we budgeting a deficit? Or why are we assuming a deficit when we're ahead right now? We should be at 75% of the budget with 9 months, and we're at 66. So what was the 67,000?
For Fund 15, we're at 72.70. We're at 72.72%. In expenses. 16 is the one that's doing
66%.
much of it.
That deficit was just what we budgeted. It doesn't mean that's
We'll
Going
have
to-
it.
we budgeted. It doesn't mean that's,
We'll
Going
have
to-
it.
I mean, I'm trying to, we save money where we can. We
Mhm.
canceled Christmas decorations, so that'll save us $1,000.
Right.
Ah, humbug.
I know, I felt like a bah humbug when I did it too. Felt kind of good.
All right, so,
Bah humbug when I did it too. Felt kind of good.
all right, so can you, just, on page 13, can you explain how this capital plan is impacting?
Well, yeah. So I'm assuming 689, 389. I also know we're gonna have. So I'm assuming 689, 389. I also know we're gonna have some savings this year, so I added 10,000. That's just an estimate. And that's if nothing goes wrong for the rest of the year.
Oh my gosh.
Well, and I think that's what the city doesn't understand, do they?
Vacuum cleaner's broken.
I think that's what the city doesn't understand, do they?
Vacuum cleaner's broken.
That's just vacuum bags is what I was told, so that's cheap. That's $25.
Okay.
And then the 67,000 was what we had budgeted for, like the AV upgrade, the
Mhm.
computers, building improvements, the furniture. But because the foundation bought the furniture I was planning on buying, I don't have to buy that.
Right.
And we also have some personnel savings this year, although my personnel savings got eaten up a little bit because of the changes in the health insurance.
Mhm.
Did not spend the whole 67,714 deficit. So I'm anticipating that we'll spend 57,714. Does that make sense? And then next year, so then if we do that, that brings us to a fund balance of 631,675. And we're gonna have an additional money in reciprocal borrowing. I'm getting some cost savings in insurance. They don't know about.
Jennifer, on that fund balance line, 2021, 22, in the, orange kind of yellow color.
Yeah,
Could you, in parentheses, put how much is 15?
combining them and you wanna.
Yeah, so for the future, could you put in parentheses, that much is 15 and that much? Because I'd like to see, you know, those numbers, how they
Right.
go, and as we move along, and how close we get down to that 100,000 to make our point.
In 15, yeah,
And how close we get down to that 100,000 to make our point.
in 15, yeah.
That 20 or 30% reserve number, what's that calculated against?
Isn't that against what the city gives us?
Yeah,
What the
our
city-
operating budget,
Which is,
From-
yeah,
what the
our
city-
operating budget.
which is.
From the city, it's,
What's the city's what?
it's the
1.3?
total estimated revenues, does that include, is it just the 1.3, or is it all the revenues, the land, 3, or is it all the revenues, the landfill, interest, and reciprocal borrowing?
I thought it was all of it.
1.465?
Okay, so, Terry, line 18,
18.
correct? That's what they're taking the 20 to 30% against, on page 10. It's on the city budget, yeah. Do you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can the
Okay.
Education Foundation or someone sort of do a writing campaign for you to the alderman that says, hey, this is what we do, that this is what our library needs? And so you have like this,
Have been pretty active in reaching out to their alders.
I'm just saying that if they would do one with library patrons, so the library patrons, if they get a couple
Oh.
hundred emails saying, hey, you need to give them an extra $10 it makes a big difference.
That's actually a good idea.
I know that there have been several library
Not
patrons,
much, really, no.
library patrons who have reached out.
I will say, that I attended the Common Council meeting, you weren't there, on the 19th, where Jennifer presented the state of the library too, and, in favor of the library.
Which
And,
three?
pardon?
Which three?
Well, the new
Mayor.
guy,
Mayor.
Hopfler,
Okay.
the mayor, actually.
Not mayor.
No,
Alderman.
that's right, Alderman
Alderman
Mayor,
Mayor.
yeah, that's right, the mayor was talking to me, Hanneman. So I think,
there you go.
I think
One more
if
vote.
if any individuals on this library board wanted to contact the alder people, we have support on that council right now.
You only need 4 votes to make your budget.
Well, and just because 3 of them, ones that, you know,
Kristen, can you not vote on library matters?
No, I can't, I just need.
well, then here she's our fourth.
What I
You are
need is
fourth,
what,
right?
what motion you all want supported, because you get a motion and then it's an amendment to the budget.
I don't understand what's being asked. I don't understand what's being asked, though. What are we asking?
That's what I'm getting.
Well, but Jennifer had put in a requested budget, the one that was not given to the finance committee. And then the mayor's recommended budget came in like, is that where the 10,000 less? Came in like, is that where the 10,000 less than what our requested, or proposed budget was? And so I think restoration of that $10,000 would be what we would be looking for.
And then the next thing is, what fund are you gonna take?
What we would be looking for.
And then the next thing is, what fund are you gonna take it from?
I know,
That's what they always say.
right.
So that takes,
Whatever fund you took it out of.
Well, right, yeah.
so that requires, going through every single line item and every, you say, well, take it, that's not the same fund, you can't mix that with it. There is no assistance with trying to do that unless they really want to do it,
Mhm.
To be honest, in my mind, the $10,000 isn't really the issue. I mean, the $10,000 doesn't fix the fund issue. I understand most of this is coming out of a report, $223,840 cents, or sorry, 223,840 on all these items.
And that doesn't even take into consideration our, you know, what if it's, I hate to say it, another bad winter where we have $40,000 worth of repairs. I mean, like, how do,
That's why I said estimates based on ideal conditions.
right, right.
Well, back at what I was asking about, that
Yes.
30% type, that figure, is that's out of estimated revenues?
Correct.
And what number on that line 18 is then the estimated revenue figure that would be pertinent right now?
Probably the recommended budget. Because right now that is
Okay.
what the finance committee will approve if nothing is changed. They will
Okay.
just go with that.
And ideally,
If nothing is changed, they will
Okay.
just go with that.
it would be, so then ideally our reserves wouldn't go below a third of that number?
A fifth to a third, yeah, a 20 to 30%,
20 to
20%.
Okay.
So that's the ideal, that's kind of, like they said, that's the sweet spot they would like. That's the ideal, that's kind of, like they said, that's the sweet spot they would like it to be in.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, but there's an ordinance that also said, it's below 100,000.
Below
or
100,000,
the- right.
if the library does fall below 100,000,
Okay,
then we would have to repay it,
Okay.
or then we would have to repay it,
Okay.
or save until we get it back up to 100,000.
okay.
So that'd be, 30% would be about $427,000, something like that. $27,000, something like that.
What's 20%?
20%. Okay.
Or just stick with 25, you're in the middle.
Right,
What is the policy right now? I know they switched on the finance committee, but what is our, I know they switched on the finance committee, but what is our percent
Fund balance?
of balance that we wanna keep?
Well, we can't go below 100,000, and they want us to be about 20 to 30% of it.
So 25% would be like 350.
That's how I get it. 20% would be about, 290,000. 30% would be,
Yeah, so right in the middle, 25%, like 350, 360.
So it's not unreasonable, since the city is doing the levy. So,
Mhm.
and it isn't unreasonable for them to say you've gotta have this much fund balance. And then this particular list was a list we generated, and did you not decide what would come out each year, Jennifer? Not the city. So when we talk
Yeah.
about the city.
Yeah.
Oh, that I wasn't aware of.
That was the whole IRS.
it's
That
a
was-
industrial
They
something,
serve-
Yeah.
yeah, I
was-
know,
Why they
that's
call
what I
themselves
thought.
that.
That's the other thing.
What
I always think the
Foolish.
taxes.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, the
That's,
board doesn't have to act on it just because they said you have to do it.
Right.
That's what I'm saying,
that is
yeah.
correct, however, they down the road.
Right, but steady chair is 25,000.
That was us.
So,
and that was
we might
based
not be
on-
able to do some of the things we wanna do. We might have to put it off, we're gonna have to prioritize, I think. I don't think we're gonna be able to do everything for $240 or $223,000 next year, because we don't know when it's gonna happen.
No,
And like, 35,000, don't know when it's gonna happen.
no.
And like, 35,000 in library materials, you know, what is that, are we talking about books? What are we talking about, the library materials?
Yeah, because library materials are in capital. So we
So
can
that's a
use,
normal
so we
expense that we
can
always
use,
have.
but we can use library, we can use fund, but we can use library, we can use fund balance for library materials,
Okay.
So, Judy,
Bike racks, you need a donation, I think.
which I might be able to get, yeah.
The most important thing is that we have a plan where we have money for the big items. We have a plan where we have money for the big items.
Right.
And we have a plan to pay for those items. That's the priority.
Mhm.
And then all these other pieces, I think, you know, they move around within the years depending on the health of the budget.
Mhm.
So, I don't, health of the budget.
Mhm.
So, I don't recall in the 4 years I've been on the board here that we've actually had a plan like this to plan for these big ticket items that are
Exactly.
$80,000 or $415,000. That has to be mapped out and planned for, and that's what the fund balance is. That has to be mapped out and planned for, and that's what the fund balance is for. And that's why the city says you gotta have money set aside, because when these expenses come up, we won't have it either, to give you.
But you're saying, you gotta have this money set aside, and also you gotta have less of it.
Well, it isn't quite as,
And also, you gotta have less of it.
well, it isn't quite as bad as it was a year ago, you know? The 10,000 is pretty darn good considering what was happening or what were told was gonna happen to the library budget. But I wasn't at the last meeting, so I like that we have a plan for larger items. I agree with you, Judy, maybe that we should be a little more careful in 2022 with the spending. But having something on paper, knowing that it's fluid for these expenses is important to maintaining this library.
You, Judy, can speak to, we need to keep the building. We can't not do the maintenance on the building,
Yeah.
because it's just gonna
Yeah,
get
and-
bad. We have to make decisions, but,
And it seems like the city wants to partner with us as much as possible on combining
Mhm.
improvements that are happening in other parts of our, we can't just say, well, the city should pay for that, you know.
so I assume the city paid for the study
Yes.
and they own our building, so they paid for that study. Anything on this chart on page 13 that you're looking at that's highlighted in blue, the city, as of right now, in blue, the city, as of right now, is saying they are covering.
As of right now.
As of right now, so those, I see 3 items. So again, it's a plan, it's what everybody is seeing.
Excuse me, what's the $45,000 for sealants? That's- Excuse me, what's the $45,000 for sealants? That's the one I don't.
Yeah, we talked about that last month, I think.
HVAC, I think.
Or the windows, or the,
It's for the whole building.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not the HVAC stuff? No.
Oh, that's separate.
It's like exterior,
Exterior,
Oh, that's separate.
it's like exterior,
exterior
like,
stuff. Almost everything that's being done next year, if we move forward on it, is exterior. You know, the lobby water fountain replacement, you could get rid of that. We could just drill holes and put in cups there, a cup holder. Just drill holes and put in cups there, a cup holder. And people could continue to use that, could start using that water fountain again with cups.
No.
That sounds like a fantastic thing for the foundation to cover.
Look, that's what I would do, this is, look, that's what I would do, this is just me, is I would prioritize based upon what absolutely has to be done to maintain the building, right? And then, you know, water fountain, what could we ask the foundation to do? What could we do a campaign, like fund a chair in the Phaedral room, right? And then, what I would do is fund a chair in the Phaedral room, right? And then, what I would do is look mid-year at, okay, where are we on our budget, right? Do we have, you know, some money to do landscaping because we haven't had the air conditioner go out? But I think saying we're gonna do 223.84, we're just gonna do it, that concerns me.
all the things that,
It is a wish list,
Yeah.
and some of it's based on what we talked about in our building and grounds committee.
right,
On our priorities for what we wanna replace in the library.
right. Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
took that and I said,
you-
you know, if
right.
you look, you guys
Right.
can go look at our chairs right now. If you
Right.
guys want people falling through the chairs, that's fine, but that's what happened. And their fabric. And Greendale had a problem with bed bugs in their computer stations.
Mm.
Oh God, don't say that. Do we still have a bug spray person coming us?
Dog, sniffing dog.
The dog.
So I think
Sorry.
we
again.
asked Jennifer to put this together, and she did. What can we help with? We can have this.
I can put a sign up tomorrow that, you know, help us fund our bottle filler.
So the report for buildings and grounds, Annie and I talked about updating that spreadsheet.
Mm-hmm.
And that prioritizes things by number,
Oh.
So that would correspond correspond with this.
Okay,
We'll have that by next meeting.
perfect.
The other thing that I seriously think we should do is trying not to have any money left over in Fund 16 at the end of the year. Because whatever money we have left over, any money left over in Fund 16 at the end of the year. Because whatever money we have left over, the city is going to expect us to pay on capital improvements and things like this. You know, maybe if we decide we're just gonna take the coffee money and we're gonna use it for the water fountain, right? But we know now that they're gonna just expect us to use water fountain, right? But we know now that they're gonna just expect us to use it on things that the city might otherwise fund, right? So I just don't think we can have that anymore. We can start using it.
All right. Are we ready to move on from there, Jennifer? Did you expect any action from
Well,
that?
that's what I was wondering, did we, I put possible action in there in case it came up.
Anything on the agenda is possible action, unless you specifically say, you know.
Right.
It came up.
Anything on the agenda is possible action, unless you specifically say, you know.
Right, no
action.
action. I don't think any action needs to be taken. I don't think we need to make any motions at this point.
No, I just think it's what Judy had mentioned, which is looking at the capital improvement plan, doing the priority of what we need to do versus, Judy had mentioned, which is looking at the capital improvement plan, doing the priority of what we need to do versus, you know, going like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then whatever we don't do next year, putting it into 2023, which is a little bit less in terms of what we need to spend.
So you're going to try to work with INDUS, use up that fund money so it's not a carryover, and you're not making a specific budget modification request that you want me to present. So, kind of where we're headed?
My reaction is, if it's $10,000, we're wasting political.
Being our voice over there and offering.
We put a note for next year to make sure that our budget gets put into the.
We've already started a list of changes for next year, and that is top of the list, I believe.
And I would just put your.
Every other department that had a budget in the binder got it, at the meetings we
Right.
were at, were on the agenda, a
We
chance
wanna
to
be-
speak.
We wanna be part of it,
And,
because we're in the budget.
And 2 years ago,
Yeah.
that would have been the 2020 budget, they did go over our budget.
About the 20% to 30% that our fund balance should be. Is that only Fund 15? Do we know, or is it just everything in the budget?
I would have to ask, but I think the city is looking at both.
Yeah, but what should they,
The city is looking at both.
yeah, but what should they be looking at?
She'll find out.
Yeah.
That
'Cause it
brings
makes a
up,
huge
to then
difference
just get
as
rid
to
of
whether
that.
or not we're in
Right,
that
right,
Or not.
yeah. And I'm concerned too. And I'm concerned too about people that make, I think, a dedicated donation. Like if part of Fund 16 revenues is donations and they make dedicated donations, they maybe don't wanna pay for a new roof. They maybe wanna pay for certain things
Chair
that
yoga.
they're, right, for a new roof. They maybe wanna pay for certain
Chair
things that
yoga.
they're, right, so, right. So,
Well, if they specify
if they
it,
specify, it's used that way.
it's used that way.
But the way it stands now, it's, can go anywhere, but,
If they say nothing, it just goes
Right.
into our general base.
But I mean, they're all unrestricted funds, but,
If they say nothing, it just goes
Right.
into our general base.
I mean, they're all unrestricted funds, but the
Right.
issue is, we're getting penalized for having patrons who are donating to us directly. Like the fire stations, they're just looking at their fund, right? They're not looking at
right,
some other fund that the fire station gets from, I don't know, whatever they do.
right,
Spaghetti dinner.
Yeah.
There you go.
Whatever they do.
right.
Spaghetti dinner.
Yeah.
There you go.
Right.
We need a pancake breakfast.
There we go. Alrighty, are we ready to move on?
Yes.
More than ready? All right. We are going to move on to business B, our policy review, and both of these policies, were very recently written, I believe. Yep, the emergency closing one was written in 2019, and then the other one written, let's see, in 2018. So, Jennifer, do you wanna, I didn't see any changes.
No, I mean, because these were so recent.
Right.
I did not, neither Carrie nor myself saw anything that needed.
What about disclosure policy? In the event the library emergency closure, only the library staff scheduled for work during the closure will receive. Okay. I just read
So
it.
basically, if it's out of their control,
Only the library staff scheduled for work during the closure will receive.
Day off, you don't get paid even though they're
Closing, right.
But if, like, during COVID, when the library was closed for several weeks, we continued to pay employees and we're committing to that.
well, no, because they actually worked.
Right.
They were here.
Even though the
Yes.
building was closed,
They worked, yeah.
some of them did.
In March they did, when we all were at home.
Yeah, because we were,
I remember that.
that was from the city,
working
we
from
were,
home. Mhm.
Still open right when it closed.
some of them did opt to stay home.
They were essential.
Some of them did opt to stay home.
They were essential.
I just, I think it's only library staff scheduled to work and work during the closure. I don't wanna pay someone who's scheduled to work who doesn't work.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Work who doesn't work.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So
Just 'cause
if
you're
I'm supposed to work today,
Yeah,
and there's a snowstorm, so I don't work, then I shouldn't get paid.
so let's say there's
Right.
like a water
Yeah.
that bursts in the library and it floods. The librarians aren't
Let's say it's a
working.
snowstorm. No,
Well,
not a
we're
burst
working
water
to try and
pipe.
protect
And the
the
library's
books.
closed for a week because of
Oh.
that, nobody can be in this building, then we're paying people. I mean, if that's what we wanna do, then that's fine, but,
Was this just hourly workers that would be taught?
yeah.
Yeah.
Like shelvers
I mean-
and stuff.
Like if it's a high school shelter, they don't have to show up because the
Carpet's all
closed,
wet
so we
and
pay
nobody's
them.
in there.
So in a case like that, where we're closed long-term, let's say for a week, our librarians are gonna be working from home, correct? Like they did during COVID, there is a certain amount, I know.
40 hours, I don't know, I mean,
Okay,
I guess
okay.
if it was that disastrous.
Right.
Can it just say only library staff who work during the closure will receive pay? But if you don't want that, that's okay,
But do we even need that sentence? I don't think there's any reason for Jennifer's discretion based on the circumstances whether she's gonna pay or not.
Yeah.
Versus our committing here one way or the other.
Yeah.
Right, well, part of the problem I see is, you have bills to pay and it's not your fault there's some emergency and now all of a sudden you're getting your paycheck yanked and you don't have any, you can't get unemployment or anything for that. So, she needs to have some discretion.
I mean, part of it was when we closed because of extreme cold,
Mm-hmm.
do we pay people or not?
I guess that's up to you, how many times did you get closed, after a certain amount of closures do you, right?
If people choose, say it's extremely cold and we remain open, anybody can choose to stay at home if they do not feel safe coming in.
But that's not a closure.
But that's not a closure,
But they don't get
and they would
paid.
have to use their time
PTO.
up.
But we're talking about a closure, so,
Right, and the flip side of it is that time, they're not working for us.
right.
So, yeah, they're not gonna get paid, but they're also free to do whatever they wanna do.
It's not like halfway through the day they're gonna get called back in. They don't have to.
Well, and now that we have COVID, we know that some people could work remotely and others couldn't, and is it fair for them to get paid when remotely and others couldn't, and is it fair for them to get paid when they're not and other people are working, right? So, my inclination would be to either just take out the sentence, or have something very vague saying that the library director will decide under the circumstances whether or not employees will be paid.
I think that's better,
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay,
that you would decide,
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay,
that you would decide that, because with a big school district, we had a lot of employees who couldn't work, like they
Right.
didn't report, but we didn't wanna cut them off either. But after months of it, we didn't wanna cut them off either, but after months of it, it gets like, wait a minute, you know, we can't keep paying people, and they're not working at all, so. Ellen's
Well,
looking
this-
at me like,
This was
you
written
remember, right?
pre-COVID.
Oh, sure.
I know, right?
Yeah, this was written like 3 months before. Yeah, this was written like 3 months before COVID, 4 months
Right.
before.
I remember
Oh,
that.
the good old days.
I just have another suggestion, and I don't know that that needs to be,
Well,
oh.
what do we wanna say? In the event of a library emergency closure,
The library director
Director.
shall determine,
closure,
the library director
Director.
shall determine who will receive pay for missed hours.
What page are we on?
We're on page
The
14.
Emergency closing evacuation.
Yeah, I knew that, I just didn't,
It's right at the second,
I knew that, I just didn't,
it's right at the second line from the bottom,
Okay.
second point from the bottom.
the library director
It's
shall
just giving
determine.
you a little discretion, Jennifer, to decide, like, if it's a bookshelfer and they're not gonna work a whole week, I don't think you should pay them,
Right.
you know.
Okay, once we do the language regarding pay and replacing it with, in the event of a library emergency closure, the library director shall decide in his or her discretion if any employees will receive pay if they are not required to perform work.
That's why we like you, Judy.
Okay, can you repeat that? Okay.
Wait, I'll do it again. In the event of Okay, in the event of a library emergency closure, the library director shall decide in her discretion if employees will receive pay if they are not required to perform work.
If they are not,
Required to perform work.
to perform work. Okay. Okay.
I just have another suggestion. I don't know, this needs to be, well, I don't know. For this, I'm on page 16 now, which is still part of the emergency closing policy.
Well, it's the
Well, it's a
procedure.
separate one though.
Yeah, it's pages 14 to 18 on the agenda.
The
Well, it's a
procedure.
separate one though.
Yeah, it's pages 14 to 18 on the agenda, it's all one. So if there's any changes, it should be part of the same motion, correct? Because it's the same agenda item?
Oh, I have it, oh, I guess it is, cause I was thinking of.
Right.
Hotspot was a separate one, okay. Okay. Oh, I guess it is, cause I was thinking of.
Right.
Hotspot was a separate one, okay. Okay.
Okay, on page 16, under the recording the message,
Yeah.
my mother, if it's like 30 below zero and she heard you say that the book drop is still open, she's gonna drive out here to put her book in to avoid a fine. So I'm wondering if the message could be specific to, instead of saying that the book drop is open or there's, 6 feet of snow on the ground, she's gonna try to get to the book drop because you told her it was open.
That's true.
So I'm gonna take that as an encouragement to, even though the library's closed, they can still bring their stuff back. So maybe you could adjust the message to the circumstance.
Well, I think too.
So that would be my suggestion.
And this is just suggested.
I know, is
This
it
is more for
to the
librarians
effect?
than.
Okay,
And I think part of it is I could change that to, somebody returns a book 2 days later after the snows, after everything's cleared
Yeah.
up, we don't charge them.
you extend the grace
Yeah.
period, yeah, okay.
We don't charge.
And does that need to be amended as part of the policy, or because it's part of the procedure, it doesn't really need to be?
It's part of the procedure, but
Okay.
I'll note it.
But it doesn't need to be,
Discussion, possible action,
Yeah.
you should probably just take that off.
Okay.
The only way we should talk about any action or non-action is if you are not taking any action.
Like if you're distributing the master calendar and just, you know, something like
If you're
that.
gonna start putting possibles when they're not, like report to the building and grounds, you don't have possible action, so that means you can't take any. So, just leave, the possible action is because it's on the agenda. It automatically.
It is automatically a
Right,
possibility
so
for action,
you don't
okay.
need any of that on there. Just always say if you definitely are.
Good point.
I think I get paranoid about that.
I know. And then my last question on the procedure part, or the procedure part, page 18. Do we have, we have fire poles in here? Don't we have,
Fireplace?
like a fire, like you pull an alarm?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, then shouldn't they be doing that also, or is that,
I guess I was kind of thinking that the fire alarms would be on.
or is that,
I guess I was kind of thinking that the fire alarms would be on already.
gotcha, okay.
But I
that
guess
was-
you're right. I mean, if the alarm.
Cause it said, well, wait till you get outside and then call 911, you know, pull the fire alarm, wouldn't that be just as,
I
the
mean, I
first thing
guess
you would do?
If the fire alarm didn't go off and we just happened to catch a fire and.
Right.
I mean,
First thing
guess
you would do?
If the fire alarm didn't go off and we just happened to catch a fire in the
Right,
middle of
okay.
Phaedra, we
Yeah.
would pull the
It
alarm.
was just a question that we,
would,
yeah.
You know, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But,
We'd go to their,
oh,
pull
there's
the
one.
alarm.
I assume they're all over the building, yeah. All right, so, any other questions about that policy? All right, so, any other questions about that policy and procedure? Judy, did you want to note yourself as making that motion?
Sure.
Anyone want a second to approve that with the, with the change?
I'll second.
Judy Miller?
Judy, yeah.
Judy and Judy? Any other questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed or abstain? Motion in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed or abstain? Motion carries. And then the mobile hotspot, the policy and user agreement.
How much is a mobile hotspot? How much do we pay for those when we have to replace them?
Oh, we probably wouldn't have to pay.
We don't,
Oh, we probably wouldn't have to pay.
we don't?
If we,
I feel like we've had to before,
I think she's
right?
purchased additional
No, I
ones.
just purchased new ones.
Oh, okay.
The 6897 for the hotspots to Sprint.
That's 3 hotspots, yeah.
Okay.
Wait.
That's the service.
That's
Does
the
the service
service,
or
and we
for
just got the,
renting
we got the hotspots and then we
got the
have,
service?
have the service. There's no, it's not an agreement, it's not like we have, it's not like a 48-month term or anything.
Mhm.
It's
Okay.
just, we could stop it at any time, 7 a month.
Yep, okay, for 3 of them.
If somebody did not return a hotspot or return one damaged, I mean, I guess it would depend on if our rep retired and somebody moved
Right,
him on, but
right.
he's like, I would get you one.
Okay, but we would still charge them according to this yep, right here.
If we have to, yeah.
Changes that Jennifer suggested. Did anyone notice anything?
No, looks good to me.
Looks good.
So then I guess I will move that we accept this policy. Do we need to do that, or okay, I
I'll
move that
second
we, okay, and Annie seconded it. All in favor? Oh, go ahead.
So the policy was approved in November, of 2018, so how will it be denoted tonight? Will it say reviewed?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have a,
Got it.
yep, we've been doing that to all
You
of
can
them.
call it a reapproval.
Okay,
Motion was made to reapprove the policy for hotspot, previously approved on November 2018.
That's what I said. She was listening.
But it's also denoted on the policy itself, right, the today's date?
Yes, it was yeah,
Thank you.
what she
Yeah,
said.
you ever put a running dates on those?
Well, I think that's
This
what
is
she
the
was
first-
starting to,
Yeah, this is like really the first year we've done this.
right, right.
So,
All right,
You could put revision number, revised downfall, one date on the bottom of each one, downfall, one date on the bottom of each one. This one obviously just didn't get revised, it was just reapproved.
right,
But the other one, there was a revision, you could say revised on. And
at the bottom, okay.
all right, so I still need to take a vote on this one, we didn't vote, so I still need to take a vote on this one, we didn't vote, so all in favor of reapproving the mobile hotspot policy? Anybody opposed or abstaining? Okay, motion carries. All right, agenda item 6, update on council actions related to the library, Kristen? 6, update on council actions related to the library, Kristen?
I have not, I have the council. You give me an update, I'm sorry.
No problem. All righty. Judy, school matters relating to the library?
Well, we're just getting school started. We're busy issuing Chromebooks to kids and getting our newer books on our shelves, decorating our libraries again, and then pulling resources for classroom teachers. So that's pretty much what we've been up to.
Great. And do you have numbers on how many to check out books, or does that get lost?
It kind of gets lost.
It does,
But I can
okay.
ask Sam, because he keeps track of it.
Oh, he does, yeah, I'd be curious, just to see if that's, and they obviously know they can do that, so, yeah.
And we really want to get back into the schools when it's safe to do
Yeah.
so, but I understand.
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
It's not the right time, but typically,
Yeah,
Mhm.
we're starting to allow a little bit more. We have to come to ask the
Mhm. All right, it was agenda item 8. It was a busy month for me too here. I did also attend some of the finance committee meetings with Jennifer, and just listened. As you all know, because you live in Franklin, or most of us live in Franklin, every department is needing money, so I got to, listen to needing money, so I got to, listen to all that too. So I feel like I learned a lot for next year, and I think making a well-organized presentation to the finance committee of the city next year will be crucial. And the finance committee of the city next year will be crucial and important. I suggested to Jennifer, although I will take it back, I thought maybe it would be better if we did our state of the library presentation to the council before the whole budget process, but then I think the timing of it was just practically perfect. It was just practically perfect this year, because it's going to be closer to when the council meets to approve the budget, and I think that was good timing on that part. And most of the finance committee members, or a lot of them, are not council members anyway, so.
Well, there's 3 of them on there.
Yeah, there are 3, yeah,
Yeah, that's-
committee members. Maybe it's because other people
No, I
were.
mean, 3 alternates, half the council.
Oh, right, okay, I just meant half the finance committee, okay. The
I'm
other,
always looking at the votes.
right, that's true. The other thing I did this month is I contacted Steve Heiser about Recorded, wonderful to work with. I first of all started out by reading through chapter 43. And I didn't see anything about our meetings being recorded in that. And so I reached out to him and I asked him, what he thought. And he responded to me that he felt that it was probably within the law for a municipality to request the recordings, but he was going to run it past Shannon Schultz, who's an administration consultant. And she said, this is coming up and more. So it is an issue that's coming up. However, she says it does not pertain to library law. It pertains to open government practice. From her email, must remember that while it does have some autonomy, certainly more than other municipal departments do, it is still a subunit of the municipal governing body, and as such, the library board is subject to the requirements of open government, and that includes open meetings law. So, it's not really about library law, it's about open meeting law. And that's what I gathered from reading.
Yeah, but that doesn't really answer the question, because you can comply with the open records law without recording the meeting.
I agree, but if the,
Without recording the meeting.
I agree, but if the city
Is it transparency?
is,
I understand that,
if
but-
the city is requiring it for all their boards and committees, I mean, we would have to take it to that level. I don't know that it's, so we can't really, to take it to that level. I don't know that it's, so we can't really, address it from the fact that library law says we don't have to record our meetings. We would have to challenge, you know, the city's decision about open meeting law. So, and city's decision about open meeting law. So, and I just don't think that's
Prudent.
Well, yeah, we don't.
exactly.
we don't-
So,
I just don't think she answered our question really in terms of the issue, but.
Well, I don't think that all boards and commissions are being recorded.
you know what, we did confirm, just so you know, we did confirm with Peggy and, who was that other person? We asked them, Peggy and Paul, point blank, are all the committee?
Well, it was more Peggy, because Paul doesn't really have anything to do.
Right, are all the committees in the city, including like, of them are required
So
to.
what does Parks do when they go on their tour? Did you ask them when you do an outside meeting? Because
We
they're-
did kind of ask them about that, and they obviously didn't know firsthand, but they,
Because that would be the same
as our buildings and grounds, and I think they said, they recommended we do what, and then just record the meeting part, schedule a meeting part,
Otherwise, you'd be walking around
carry a handheld, I don't know, something. So anyways,
talking about, oh, stained toilet,
yeah,
I think if the committee reports to the board and it's recorded as part of that, it doesn't seem.
I mean, I agree with that, but according to her, they are requiring all those subcommittees to do it, so.
It's not that big of a deal, actually.
So, anyways, so there's our answer to that. Okay, buildings and grounds, do you have something to?
We did walkthroughs and we met, and Judy will be updating the timeline and the checkoff list. I'd like to note that compared to the last time we did a walkthrough, there were huge improvements on everything that we looked at.
Mm-hmm, great,
That the first time, this time it was a very much shorter list.
good,
So
Good
kudos,
job.
Jennifer.
Well, that's what we did.
Yeah.
That's what staff did while
Yeah.
we were closed.
right,
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
super,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think just having it for them, awareness, and,
Right.
yeah, they know somebody's
They're
looking
looking
at.
at that spot on the carpet, what the heck happened? Looking at that spot on the carpet, what the heck happened over there?
Are you talking about the sawdust?
That's
Oh,
sawdust.
yeah, is that what that
We
is?
can't
I don't-
vacuum
it
it
was like
because
garbage.
Judy broke the vacuum cleaner.
I tried to vacuum it up and it didn't work.
Oh.
I did.
Ryan
Oh.
I did.
Ryan will vacuum it tonight
Very good.
But the vacuum cleaner does it.
with the other vacuum.
With the other
That's
vacuum.
That's just a vacuum cleaner for the meeting room.
It looks like a
That
hay
doesn't
bale.
work.
Did somebody put a hay bale down?
There was hay.
Oh, yeah, probably
There
from
was a
trunk or
hay bale. Yeah,
treat,
trunk-
or.
Well, we
the-
had
that-
leftover hay bale.
Somebody put a hay bale down?
There was hay.
Oh, yeah, probably
There
from
was a
trunk or
hay bale. Yeah,
treat,
trunk-
or.
Well, we
the-
had
that-
leftover hay bale from trunk or
Trick or
treat. It may have
treat.
been stored in here before we, because it was raining.
You better put a tarp down.
Alrighty, Jennifer, give us your report.
Okay, I'm gonna make this quick.
Hey, Jennifer, give us your report.
Okay, I'm gonna make this quick.
Right.
The big thing is, okay, I did give the report to the Common Council. I feel like it was well received.
It
I
was
was
very
extremely
well
nervous,
received.
but
Yeah,
I think it was well received. Well received.
It
I
was
was
very
extremely
well
nervous,
received.
but
yeah.
I think it was well received. And we have a new marketing consultant at McFliss, and I will be meeting with her soon to start up work on the marketing plan. Might not be done by the end of the year, but it at least will be in progress. I met with Dana Zahn. And I've got some, she gave me some good strategies for possible streamlining and some costs that I will go to the personnel committee with, and then they can make their recommendations to the library board, so that will be coming up. One big thing is Bob Tesh walked in and said our boilers passed their annual safety inspection. There's no other work that needs to be done on them as far as safety goes. So I thought you guys would be really excited about that. Meant to arrive.
Okay.
One piece probably has some kind of microchip in it.
Mm-hmm.
But they will be getting an update on November 12th. So at that point, they will let me know if it's not able to be done this year. We'll have to do. Well, I don't know, because we're spending out of. But so I should know by the next board meeting. I should be able to give you an update on that. We've talked a lot about the budget, so I will skip over that. Trunk or treat was huge. I was so tired on Friday. It was huge.
And it was Jennifer's
You had to work outside in the cold and rain on your birthday?
Yeah, but I actually wasn't cold because I was running around. So I wish I'd had my Fitbit on. I was running around so much. I thought it was really good. We just had our, post-mortem meeting on it with the health department today.
Yeah, what were the final numbers?
But we feel like it was well over 1,000 people, with kids and parents. But it's funny because I saw one little kid in a stroller with 6 adults with him.
Yes,
Come on.
I saw that
So
one
it was
too.
the little kid in the stroller in the costume, with grandma and grandpa on one side,
Yep.
grandma and grandpa on the other side, and the parents. So
Mhm.
6 grandparents were there. It was cute. But it was so funny.
That was, yeah, I remember that group, yeah.
Nobody ran out of, I think only one group ran out of candy, and I gave them more because you generously,
Oh, the school
yeah,
district donated.
the school district donated a bunch of
That was
candy,
left
so
over
we,
from homecoming.
Yeah.
so we, were able to give some of the trunks that were running out of candy, more candy, so that was nice.
Oh, that worked out nice.
The foundation had a trunk, and
I didn't get a
Mindy
chance to
Wilkie,
buy
who's
one.
one of the foundation members, did an excellent.
I didn't get a
Mindy
chance to
Wilkie,
buy
who's
one.
one of the foundation members, did an excellent job of pushing the movie that were Friday night at the
Milky Way.
Milky
The-
Way,
the
thank you,
Rock,
the Milky Way.
Milkman Field.
So we'll get a portion of
Sports.
each ticket sold if they use the QR code on the flyer, and she talked that up like crazy. Code on the flyer, and she talked that up like crazy.
Oh, nice.
And our coffee fundraiser.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, so I talked about that. This is a really short report. McFliss, that's a big one. They've offered to pay for a hoopla next year. They'll save us $4,000. They've offered to pay for a hoopla next year. They'll save us $4,000.
Is that reflected in the budget?
No, because I kept it in there as a placeholder because we're gonna have to
Don't reflect it, keep
pay
it
it,
4,000.
yeah.
Reflected where?
Because they might not the year
You
after,
never
they
know
got,
until we have the money in hand.
Come on, we're recording this. Stop saying it.
right,
No.
exactly.
In addition, they're looking at applying, or they actually have applied. I got an email today from Steve. So they've applied for ARPA grant funds, and the 2 areas that they're applying for Franklin is for the materials lockers,
Mm-hmm.
which look like benches, but they have solar panels, and you can charge your devices in them.
Oh.
So those are the 2 things that we expressed interest in, so they,
So it's not charging electric vehicles.
not electric vehicles, just devices. So those are the 2 resiliency. They are asking for digital navigators for economic success, is what they're asking for, which would mean we would partner with the Department of Workforce Development, Employee Milwaukee, and Goodwill to have digital navigators in the libraries to help people with job searching and so those are the areas. COVID, we still have our safety protocols in place. Our November newsletter I passed out.
Mhm.
Our November newsletter I passed out.
Mhm.
We're working with the this is new, this started today. We're working with the Historical Society and the city on a combined one-day event. That would be the library doing like a program, would be the library doing like a program in the library, followed by the Historical Society doing their services in the chapel, followed by a tree lighting over
For
at City Hall.
Christmas.
For Christmas.
For Christmas,
Well,
yeah.
that's a nice idea.
So it'd be a one-day event.
A one day instead of two, or.
Yeah.
Nice idea.
So it'd be a one-day event.
A one day instead of two, or,
Yeah,
yeah,
cause that was, they never liked it, that was a two-day event.
right.
And the city has like the only good trees now for,
Well, they took down the one in front
they
of the.
took the one down by the Historical Society, the one over here is being slowly strangled. They
The-
took the one down by the Historical Society, the one over here is being slowly strangled to death, cause it wasn't planted right in the first place, so
We'll have to do a.
that's
sig-
not, it's a weird looking tree now, so that's coming up.
Jennifer, I'm gonna interrupt you because I pulled up a grant a while ago and I had it minimized. I pulled up a grant a while ago and I had it minimized, but my battery's like almost gonna die. But I wanted to read it to you. It was on the Wisconsin Grant Watch for $10,000 in COVID support.
Mm.
So I don't know. You want to check that out, but
We can,
the deadline
Don't.
is December 2nd.
you can send it to me
Can
and
you forward
Carrie.
it to her?
I
and
don't,
I can look at it.
that's why this, my battery is like, I
So
wanted
it's
to.
Grant Watch.
I'll see.
So it's a Wisconsin specific.
Wisconsin.grantwatch.
And the other thing is the foundation, we were approved to have a bake sale, which I
Mhm.
should have mentioned during the foundation stuff.
Mhm.
But not a cookie walk, cause a cookie walk, they're open and people are, we can have a bake sale with prepackaged items that are closed. So that program.
That's a good idea.
All right. Anything jump out on it at a glance?
Well, things
Anything?
continue to get better.
Yep, I noticed that in a lot of those
Typical
areas.
meeting room.
I know.
Well, any meetings, I mean, we're constantly full. Part of it is because the children's department is using it for their story times though.
Sure, so they,
Because they have to come inside.
right,
They had them outside as long, kudos to them, they had them outside as long as they could, but now they have to come inside a little bit, cause I do include library programs.
All right. Anything else? Okay, our next meeting is Monday, November 22nd at 6 PM. I believe that's the Monday of Thanksgiving week. Anybody know? Sorry, thank you. Yes, anything else from the foundation? I apologize.
Well, we're meeting again in January, so, other
Yeah.
than the bake sale,
The bake sale.
Okay,
which I kinda spoke out of turn.
all right,
Okay.
sorry about that. I think that's
Sorry,
what
Carol.
confused me. Thank you, Judy. November 22nd, anybody already see issues?
You know, your wife might be
If
listening to
you
this recording.
need to be elsewhere, like taking your lovely wife to dinner for your anniversary,
Oh my gosh.
we will be fine without you, Terry. So just let us know.
Odometer's running, you know.
Before that's done, can I jump back one?
Sure,
Okay,
but you
at the
still.
last meeting, somebody asked about the percentage of tax levy that the library gets.
Yeah.
And I looked at the budget, it's 5.73%. That's it, I'm done.
Second.
Okay, Ann favor? Aye. All right, anybody opposed? Motion
Other
carries.
cities.
You know, that's a good question.
It is a
Jennifer?
good question.
Jennifer, do you wanna,
Turn us on.
we're adjourned.
All right.
I just